Morning, church. I'm not going to take too much time because I'm stoked to hear Josh share. Where is Josh? Is he? Oh, hey, Josh. I love Josh and Jewel. They're like some of my best friends. And I just was so stoked that they're coming back out to Kauai to visit, do a wedding. And I didn't know that we were sharing on the same Sunday. And when I found that out, I was like, yes, perfect timing, which is actually what I'm going to be talking about this morning just for a few minutes is God's timing. And that's exactly what God has been teaching me in the last week or so, which is usually what ends up happening whenever I get asked to share. I just, all right, whatever God's teaching me, Lord, just put words to it. And so I pray that the Lord would just speak through me. So the thing that kind of prompted God's timing was in the last few months, I felt that I was kind of getting just a little bit lukewarm. And I actually talked with the youth a little while ago, I think a couple weeks ago, about what it means to be lukewarm and how to avoid that. And some stuff happened with my truck in the last week or so. Nathan knows about that. It was an adventure and still is. But it was all in the perfect timing because in the last few months, like I said, I felt like I was struggling with lukewarmity, if that's a word. And yeah, I like to make up words on the spot. I was struggling with lukewarmity, and in the last few months, God has been like stirring up that fire in me again, which has been really exciting, and he's been using circumstances to do that, and not just, changing dials in me, but he's been working in me, and it felt like this thing with the truck that was going on just kind of sealed it was like a seal almost. It was God using one more thing to say, I'm in control, I've got you, and I'm doing a work in you, and I want you to be dependent on me again, the same way you were when you first moved out here to Kauai. And as the couple last years has passed, I've gotten to a place where I feel secure, and I've got a job, and everything's going swimmingly, and I've gotten to the point where then you get stagnant, you get lukewarm because everything's secure, and it's like when you feel like you don't need God, you start to almost believe it, and it was by his grace that he totally shook things up, and in the last week, God used the perfect timing of a minor truck problem to kind of seal the deal, and even more so, he used the perfect timing of where I've been listening to scripture as I work, and the timing of the passage that came to me the first day of this last week on Monday was in Esther. And any of you who've read the book of Esther know that God's timing in that was impeccable. And one particular part, and I just want to share that. I'm not going to read the whole passage just because. Is there an echo on this thing? No? Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to read the whole passage. I'm just going to give you the context because I don't want to eat up too much time. I'm going to leave as much as I can for Josh. So Haman, the bad guy, hates the Jews and wants to kill them. Mordecai is a Jew, and he saved the king's life at some point. He overheard some gossip, and not gossip, was some plots to kill the king. He saves the king, and it goes unnoticed. And one day, the very day that Haman is planning to go talk to the king about, I want to kill this guy. Mordecai didn't honor me. He didn't bow before me, and I want to kill him. And you know what? All of the Jews too, because they're all, everyone hated the Jews, it seems like, throughout history. And so as he's planning to go talk to the king, God had kept the king up that night and gave him insomnia or something. And he ends up searching the records, finding out what Mordecai did. It's like, oh, I want to bless this guy. So it's like, how should I bless this guy? Then there's a knock on the door. Oh, Haman's here to talk to you. Haman, what should I do for the guy I want to bless? And Haman's like, yeah, that's me. Do all this great, amazing stuff. And then he's like, okay, go do that for Mordecai. God's timing in that was, I laughed out loud when I listened to it. And I was like, God totally it's kind of sad when you think about what ends up happening to Haman. He's a wicked man, yes, but he gets executed in the end. And he deserves it, but did I? Okay, never mind. The timing is just amazing, and I found that so encouraging that God's timing in these little circumstances, he's like a storyteller, and he can step away from the book that he's writing, and he's like, all right, now what should happen? Okay, yeah, now go back to it. And in Haman's eyes, Mordecai's eyes, it's all one continuous flow, but for God, it's just like, oh, I've already worked all the nitty-gritty details so that this thing can happen. And so I was really encouraged by that, and it came at a perfect time for me because I was learning about God's perfect timing, and it was like Inception, the way that it was just, everything was perfect. So my encouragement to us as a church, to each one of you, is that if you're dealing with something that you're waiting on God's timing for, there's a relationship, an emotional problem, a circumstance, whatever it is, trust God's perfect timing. We're very impatient creatures. We just want the instantaneous result right away, and it isn't meant to be that way. The whole point of life is to live by faith. That's the whole point of the Bible, is to live by faith. And we see it in Abraham. We see it in the Israelites, and we even see it in Jesus' walk. He said, not my will be done, but thy will be done. And so my encouragement to you is, if you find yourself in a place of waiting, just remember that remember the times past where God has proven himself to you in other seasons. And if you feel like he never has, well, the scripture says in Galatians 4:4-5, but when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. The fullness of times. Jesus came at the perfect time. So he's already proven himself. And a little fun fact, how I know Jesus came at the perfect time in history was, it was at the time of the Roman rule, when everyone spoke a common language, and it was just ready for the gospel to spread like wildfire. And so, among many other things, that's just a fun fact of how we know Jesus came at the perfect time. And just remember, God's never late. He's always on time, and he's on his own version of Hawaii time, right? You say, I'm going to get there. I'll get there when I get there. 6 means like 6:15 or 6:20, right? God's on Hawaii time, but his own version. It's always perfect. He's never late, and he arrives exactly when he means to. So remember that, and be encouraged. Wait on God.